Hello, 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 world. This is your host, Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Finally, the government will open up again. The shutdown is over as of today, November 12th, 2025. President Trump gave a speech, then he signed the bill into law. Please share, leave your comments, like, because I'd like to know what your thoughts are once you hear what he's going to do. And he laid out a lot of things that he says he's going to do. So let's jump right into it and hear what President Trump had to say just before he signed the bill. And here we go.
Our healthcare businesses and our recipients at levels never seen before. Today we're sending a clear message that we will never give in to extortion, because that's what it was. They tried to extort, the Democrats tried to extort our country. In just a moment I'll sign a bill exactly like we asked Democrats to send us all along, many days ago. This cost the country $1.5 trillion, this little excursion that they took us on. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. There's never been a time when one or the other party ever didn't sign a continuation. It's just a continuation, not a big deal. It's a continuation, and we'll talk later. Yet the extremists in the other party insisted on creating the longest government shutdown in American history, and they did it purely for political reasons. I want to thank Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, as well as House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and numerous other great Republican leaders and congressmen and senators who are here and frankly spent a long time in Washington getting this thing to go away. I also want to thank the broad coalition of Americans that stood with us in this fight to reopen government, including the Teamsters, the American Federation of Government Employees, the Fraternal Order of Police, AMVETS, the National Small Business Association, the American Farm Bureau, the American Trucking Association. These are all incredible patriots. The Airlines for America, the Allied Pilots Association, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, and many others, unions and non-unions. Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not too distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't. Today we had the highest stock market price ever in all of the different markets. We set a record. It's the 48th time in the 9 months that I've been in office that we had this record set. So think of that, 48 times we had a record set. But today is the highest of them all. We're going to break new grounds. Nobody would have thought. I have with us not only the great political leaders, but the great business leaders of our country. They're standing right behind me and right really alongside of me. And if we would have told them a year ago that we'd be having stock prices this high, none of them, in fact, I just asked them that question, none of them would have believed it. And that inures to jobs and, very importantly, to 401ks, which have also set a record today, a record high for the people that have 401ks. And also, I want to thank Walmart because they came up with a fantastic study. It was the cost of Thanksgiving coming up and the cost of Thanksgiving from a year ago under Sleepy Joe Biden. And we're 25% lower this year than we were a year ago. And it's a very inclusive report. So I want to thank Walmart. They've done it for many years, but we believe in that, and we believe in that company. I want to also thank the 8 Senate Democrats who finally did the right thing in voting to end this craziness, this madness. But unfortunately, the vast majority of congressional Democrats were happy for millions of Americans to suffer. They really did suffer, too. And the Democrats admitted, they said, well, no, we finally have a point. Even though people have to suffer, we finally have a point. And that didn't work out too well for them. But they really went out and they could appease the fringe benefits of their far-left base. But that didn't work out because now their far-left base is angrier than ever before. We actually elected a mayor of New York City who happens to be a communist. When was that going to happen? Remember, I said all the time during my campaign, we will never be a socialist country. And that's right. We turned out to have a communist in New York City. And if you look at his views, those are the views of a communist, not a socialist. So this is no way to run a country. I hope we can all agree that the government should never be shut down again, end the filibuster, terminate the filibuster. It'll never happen again. So with my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans. Again, costs are way down. Energy is way down. Gasoline is at $2.50 a gallon versus $4.70 for the Democrats. And we think we're going to hit pretty close to $2 a gallon. That's like a really massive tax cut. It's the equivalent of that. And speaking of tax cuts, our great, big, beautiful bill is giving everybody in our economy, middle income workers, low income, everybody, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and very importantly, no tax on overtime. You work overtime, there's no tax. That's among the things that add up to the biggest tax cut in history. And one other thing, you hear about rich people with deductions. Well, when you buy your car and you borrow money, you're allowed to now deduct the interest on that loan. So you can take that interest deduction and what you can take is that interest payment and deduct it for income tax purposes. That's a tremendous tax cut right there. But it all includes fixing the healthcare system that Democrats broke with the disaster known as Obamacare. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. It's done nothing but go up. And if you remember President Barack Hussein Obama, when he came up with this crazy idea, he said everything's going to be great. Rates are going to go down. Payments are going to go down. Everything's going to go down. It went the exact opposite, with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. And you go out and you'll buy your own health insurance and you'll negotiate different plans and you'll get much better insurance and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself. So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved, and we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care, and we're going to forget this Obamacare madness. So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions. I think we really have a really great situation. We have a country that we love, and we have a country that's in great shape. As you know, we have now it's over $18 trillion invested in our country by other people and countries. That's a record. There's never been a country that had so much, and that money's going into also building new auto plants, new AI plants, new everything. We've never had a time like this. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, are you prepared to negotiate with Democrats now?
Mr. President, on Jeffrey Epstein.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for going.
Mr. President, can you respond to these Epstein emails that were released today?
Well done, Mr. President.
Great job.
Well, as you can see,
Good try.
there will be no answers to questions. Let me stop. As you can see, there will be no answers to questions. He's getting out of there. Somebody asked about Epstein. See, that was totally avoided. However, the bill is signed into law now. Let me share with you the voting, because I did get the votes, because it took 218 votes in order to get this passed. So let me share with you the votes on who voted for what. I mean, which party, I should say. So for the Republican Party, we had 216 votes, Democrats 6 for yay, and the total 222. On the nay side, we had 2 Republicans, and this is the House vote because the Senate had already voted and it passed. We had on the Republican side 2 nays, Democrats 206 nays, for a total of 208 nay votes. And it only took 218 votes to pass it, so they passed it. And as you can see on the other side, the NV, I guess maybe they voted, I may not have captured that part of it, because once I saw it had won and they announced that it was over, I didn't take any more pictures of it. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing that, because I want to, well, I can leave it up there. You can look at it. President Trump said there's going to be a lot of money, and he's going to make the country great again. Well, no, he said he's going to make the country affordable again. It used to be it's going to make America great again, but this time it's going to be affordable, according to him, and all this stuff that he's laid out that everybody's going to get. And the Democrats, he said they held everything up, in which, from my perspective, I say both parties held everything up. I'm not going to put all the blame on just the Democrats. I with the Republicans having all three branches of government, the executive, judicial, and legislative. So I would put the blame on both parties. I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, it's all the Democrats. He said they were extortions and they're going to terminate the filibuster. So this will never happen again because this was the longest shutdown in history, over 40 days. I believe it was about 45 days. And all of these promises, gas close to $2 per gallon, no taxes on tips. Well, he said that before he was elected, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. We're going to have the biggest tax cut in history. I am so curious to see if all of these promises will be carried out. I'm skeptical. There's going to be interest deductions on loans when you buy a car. Insurance companies are not going to be paid. He said that that money is going to go to the uh, public, to the people, and the people are going to become entrepreneurs. Well, some of us are already entrepreneurs, and I would suggest that we continue to be entrepreneurs because I've never known of us to be able to depend on government because governments will make a lot of promises, but those promises don't come through. They may hand out a few crumbs to you, but for these all of these promises, all of these commitments, we shall see because these insurance companies are very greedy. We know that the government is corrupt. We know that promises have been made on both parties' side. I've been around for 74 years and I know and I've seen a lot. I know a lot about how things have gone in past elections. So I am curious to see because he made a lot of promises there and he said we lost $1.5 trillion. That was the cost of this longest shutdown in history. But he says that a lot of money to the people. And he's saying the insurance companies will not be paid. Now, that's interesting because we know that this medical system is broken, including the mental health system, and they've been broken. This is nothing new. These systems have been broken. I know for a fact because I've been dealing with both medical and mental system because of my son having cancer at 14 and he's 44 now. And I've been dealing with it. So I know it's broken and it's been broken. So I'm curious to see all of this money. People are going to be able to be entrepreneurs, choosing their own insurances. The insurance companies are not going to get paid because he's saying Obamacare was a disaster. So I've never had Obamacare. I've been fortunate to have insurance and I've been fortunate to own assets, but I am happy to see that this has ended and some people that have been deprived of their livelihood, lack of food, I'm happy that that's going to happen as soon as they open it back up. So hopefully that will be real soon since the bill is in effect as of today. But these are a lot of promises, as I said. So I am really, really concerned about all these promises made. And of course, the blame was on Sleepy Joe, according to your president. Sleepy Joe said the stock market is going to, well, it did go up. And I watch the stock market because I'm invested in the stock market, have been invested in it for a long time. So I'm curious. And we're going to be watching President Trump because you've made a lot of commitments and a lot of promises. And also, if you notice at the end, they rushed him out of there. Somebody mentioned Epstein, and that was the end. No questions were allowed. President Trump got out of there. So now, I guess now that this is over, the Epstein files will once again be history. So let's again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And please, I'd like to hear your comments. I'd like to hear from the people, the public, because we need to hold these politicians accountable because they make a lot of promises. And with that said, please share, leave your comments, give it a like, thumbs up, because I'd like to know what your thoughts are in terms of what President Trump just said. And let me share this so you can see here. This is where he signed off. As you can see, breaking President Trump signs bill ending government shutdown as of today, November 12, 2025, the longest shutdown in history. And he's going to end the filibuster, so this will never happen again, he said. And with that said, again, I'm Louise Hicks. Please leave your comments. I'm curious to see what the people have to say because we have to really start making decisions for ourselves and our families and make these politicians again accountable to the people. So thank you all for all of the support that I get from my subscribers. Please continue to subscribe, share this with everyone that you know. And again, let's see what happens. But I'm glad it's over because it went too long. So I'm going to close out with what I always tell everybody. Your power lies within you. Let it loose. Because I'm a firm believer in 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind." And we need to exercise that. So with that said, I will see you in the next video. And let's see what happens. Please, again, leave your comments because I'd like to know what you have to say. And until the next video.